Right, so Lindsay Hoyle, the Speaker of the House of Commons, was he coerced or blackmailed into allowing Labour's debate? Well, he's had a bit of trouble keeping his story straight on this, because what he said on the day he announced he would hear Labour's Gaza ceasefire amendment on the SNP opposition day doesn't tally up with what Keir Starmer claims he said to him, and doesn't tally with his apology and reasoning after his world came crashing down around him, his authority busted and his integrity smashed. I can't see how any MP can believe he can be fair and impartial following this. If he was blackmailed, he'd do well to say. If it is his pro-Israel leanings, then that's another problem entirely, and another reason why he is unfit to be Speaker. But given he has also descended into petty Islamophobic attacks to try and save himself too, he needs to go even faster now than he did before. Right, so Lindsay Hoyle has come back to Parliament and apologised for making the wrong call on the SNP Opposition Day debate. Have a watch of this, though, and keep in mind his reasons for having done what he did.
I made a judgment call that didn't end up in the position where I expected it to. I regret it. I apologise to the SNP. Just bear with me for a moment. I apologise, and I apologise to the House. I made a mistake. We do make mistakes. I own up to mine. I would say that we can have an SO24 to get an immediate debate, because the debate is so important to this House. I will defend every member in this House. Every member matters to me in this House. And it has been said, both sides, I never ever want to go through a situation where I pick up a phone to find a friend of whatever side has been murdered by terrorists. I also don't want another attack on this House. I was in the chair on that day. I have seen, I have witnessed. I won't share the details, but the details of the things that have been brought to me are absolutely frightening on all members of this House, on all sides. I have a duty of care, and I say that. And if my mistake is looking after members, I am guilty.
Right. First, just to clarify a point there, an SO24 is an emergency debate under Standing Order 24. So that's one standing order, at least, that he does believe in keeping. An emergency debate on Gaza. That isn't the same as letting the SNP have its opposition day back, though. He owns his mistakes, he also said. So he admits to sidelining Standing Order 31 and allowing Labour's amendment was a mistake when it was superseded by the Tories' amendment as per the convention on opposition days. However, he is now justifying that by saying he feared for members' safety in their constituencies, that he'd spoken with the police. Well, we now know he had spoken with Keir Starmer, because Starmer has said as much now. So why has Hoyle not mentioned that? But more, why is it only now that we're hearing this justification based on some sort of terrorist attack? And why would MPs fear such an attack based on siding with Gaza and backing an immediate ceasefire as per the SNP's motion? Here's another clip. This is what Hoyle said was his justification for sidelining Standing Order 31 before Wednesday's debate began.
Finally, I should tell the House that, in my opinion, the operation of Standing Order number 31, which governs the way amendments to the opposition day motions are dealt with, reflects an outdated approach which restricts order. You'll be going and not be voting. Well, that's the first one to leave then. If you want to, do it. Now then. Firstly, I should tell the House, in my opinion, the operation of Standing Order, which governs the way amendments opposition motions are dealt with, reflects an outdated approach, which restricts the operations which can put the House. It is my intention to ask the Procedure Committee to consider the operation.
Yeah, so Standing Order 31 is outdated and restricts operations. What about the terrorists then? Where were they? You spilt your guts and bled your heart to the Commons afterwards. I thought you said you'd spoken to the police too. Members were in danger. Standing Order 31 has been in existence since 1967. It has been amended 4 times since then. The last time, so in its current form it has remained since then, was in 1985. Thatcher fiddled with this on all of those occasions, in case you wondered. So complaining about it and finding fault with it is actually a pretty Thatcherite thing to be doing. It's been fine for all this time since, right up until Starmer had some form of words with you. In what manner and what exactly was really said, I'm not prepared to take Starmer's word for, because his word is meaningless. But then so is Hoyle's, because he never brought up terrorism and the safety of MPs in his justification before the debate, only after the fallout, and it seemed he desperately needed something to save his own backside. It is shameful and it is pathetic that he's prepared to stoop to this now. How can we possibly believe this is the truth when previously he just claimed to not like the standing order, that actually it was outdated and inconvenient? Israel was going to be held to account by Parliament should the SNP motion have passed. They demanded an end to collective punishment, which we know Israel are doing, a war crime. We also know Keir Starmer supported that when asked about cutting off food and water on LBC on an interview we've all seen and heard, for which he has never apologised. Starmer's Israeli loyalty aside, though, Hoyle proudly spoke to Jewish News last month to their hack Lee Harpin about his family history and that his father, Doug Hoyle, now Baron Hoyle of Warrington, was a founder of Labour Friends of Israel. Now, I'm not completely certain whether Hoyle actually said that, because I can find no evidence whatsoever to back up Doug Hoyle's connection to Labour Friends of Israel. I'm happy to be corrected, but I've been unable to corroborate it myself. So there's been a doubt in my mind. A doubt in my mind from a Lee Harpin article. Surely not. He's got such a wonderful track record of honesty and integrity, after all. But, if true, certainly Hoyle has a pro-Israel viewpoint, and that's certainly backed up by him having visited Israel last November, with the two-state solution binning should have been expelled from months ago Israeli ambassador to the UK, Zippy Odavali. But none of that excuses his later justification in the Commons complaining about it being a matter of MP safety all of a sudden, in light of apparent terrorist threats of some kind that he won't go into. Of course, we've seen these happen. The genuine thing is horrifying. And no matter how awful our MPs might be, none of us should wish any of them dead, even if they might be voting accordingly for that to continue to be inflicted on the people of Gaza. We'd like to think we ourselves, we ordinary folk of the UK, are better than them, surely. But there's no ignoring the real thing, as we don't forget Joe Cox, and we don't forget David Amess, and we don't forget the 2017 Westminster attack. But we aren't talking about those. We're talking about an Opposition Day debate, for heaven's sake. We're talking about MPs doing the jobs they were elected to do. And this is excusing them being able to do that, as they always have done, all of a sudden because it's anti-Israel and pro-Gaza? Well, who are these supposed attackers then? Who are the terrorists? Hoyle won't tell us. Is the IDF planning an attack? No, the inference was it would be a Muslim attack, wasn't it? If you don't back a ceasefire, people will get the MPs. Is that what you're saying? Well, clearly it must be, because this is now Hoyle's justification for letting Labour's amendment in, which have Labour members, or gave Labour members an opportunity to vote for a ceasefire, but on Labour's terms, not on the SNP's terms, even though it was their day. Labour stripped out criticism of Israel and the immediacy of a ceasefire. No change in their position in effect. Therefore, by bringing up the spectre of further attacks on MPs, despite never having mentioned them previously, there's an Islamophobic dog whistle being blown here now. Muslim voters should be even more appalled at Labour, and Hoyle as well now in light of this. Certainly, people on Twitter are. Terry wrote, "Liar! If he was so worried yesterday he could have called all leaders in for a meeting. Instead he just met Starmer and pushed SNP's motion to the side. As for winding up hatred towards Muslim communities who have asked for a ceasefire for months, is just despicable." That's a good point, actually. Why didn't Hoyle have conversations with all party leaders if there were fears of a terrorist attack? Surely that would have helped to build a consensus and a way forward that was agreed on by all. But he didn't do that. And as we know, having never brought it up before, it smacks of the lowest form of lie going. Green Party activist Joe Belcher wrote, "Well done to Commons Speaker and Keir Starmer for stoking Islamophobia. People of all faiths and none have been campaigning and protesting to stop genocide in Gaza. Now we're witnessing a wave of Islamophobia from political commentators and racists coming out of the woodwork." And the Jews Sans Frontières account wrote, "Look at where we've got to, Britain. a Speaker of the House of Commons flagrantly lying to cover for racist war criminals and incite Islamophobia. And he might have succeeded with the latter. The former, not so much. Everyone knows Hoyle and Starmer are lying. It is rancid. Both really need to go. Hoyle surely can never win back the trust of Parliament, and stooping to racism means he should go twice as fast. His position is completely untenable. It was before he made these excuses. It is doubly now. If you want more detail about how cravenly Hoyle caved into Starmer based on the allegations made, check out this video recommendation here, and I will hopefully catch you on the next vid. Cheers, folks.